Hello everyone, TheOntarioGardener here, back with some more Factorio. So, between episodes I did a lot of kind of busy work. I got the mining outposts, or well, the initial mining set up, basically fully utilizing all the copper, the stone, as well as the iron. For the most part, this iron here butts up to the coal, so I'm not messing with that at the moment. I know I can filter it out, but I don't really care to filter it out at the moment. We're just jamming everything together, going into these single columns, which again, we're very much lacking iron, as you can see, and we're lacking steel, as you can see. We have our stone over here, stone bricks, mind you. We have copper, and we have our stone here. Now let's run over very quickly. These are just things I've had in my pockets. I'm just dumping them on these main lines. This is a little bit of a balancer, I guess you would call it. And they're filtering over to the bus that we have. Obviously greens and copper and even steel should be I should organize steel a little bit better. They can just do a simple one like this. That's a balancer, not a balancer, but it'll help filter to put them on all sides of the belt. Then we also have our stone bricks and our stone, which will go into other things. I have a bit of a rig set up here. Now I'm working, like, this isn't the one I normally do. I totally forgot how to do this. I did it during the stream, but I am working on guides on how to set up a proper mall instead of stuff like this. But for now, excuse me, for now we're just going to roll with this. I have all the basic stuff. So I got your pipes, I got your fast inserters, regular inserters, your long reach, different, your boxes, your nanobots, and down here we have our first little rig set up for red and green science. This is basically putting out 1 science per second, because reds take 5 seconds to craft. If you have 5 of them, that's 1 per second, and then the greens are 6 seconds. So if you have 6 of them, that's 1 per second. And again, we obviously have more than what we can use at the moment as far as reachers, but that's fine. Again, what's lacking now is we're starved of iron. And down here I have a rig set up for our steel smelters, and then down here I have a bunch of rail stuff, which in my inventory down at the bottom you can see a bunch of rail stuff. So what I want to do is I want to start working on an iron outpost, and the problem is I don't know where there is one. There's coal up here, which is fine, and I'm trying to think about where I want to have my main unloading and loading station. And I think it's going to be naturally up here somewhere. And again, my issue when I play this sometimes is I put things way too close together. Another thing that I'd like to start doing is working in city blocks, which I think you either use robo ports to kind of map that out, or a certain amount of big electric poles. But I want to start working in some sort of a grid system eventually. I'm not quite there yet. I want to get like some basic stuff going. But as you can see, we are running out of iron now. Again, I could go over here and I could change this so it's a bit more efficient. But I think I'd rather just try to work on some better iron. Now, I don't know where we have iron. I know also I don't know where about putting rail lines in, which, I mean, we have some rails here, and I don't have, none of my blueprints are here anymore, mind you. I do have a blueprint here that I put up with using steel smelters, which we will use. But I believe from the preview of the map when I generated this land, here we go, here's an iron patch. This iron patch is 20 million. I wonder if it's more when I uncover all of it or not. 22 million, which is great. So what we can start doing here is setting up, we have to get trains, of course. We have to train in basically coal. So we have a couple patches of coal here, 665 and 645. So we have about, 1.3 million there. But to me, it makes sense to start pulling coal from here, have a train station up here, basically that'll run probably up here all the way across and then down into here. And we're going to figure out where we want to lay out our smelters here. We have a bit of, I mean, we're not playing with biters or anything, so we have tons of space. So the question is, do we lay out the smelters over here and pull everything this way? I'm trying to think, like, what would make more sense. If we have a main train line going straight down here, we'll have an offshoot coming here that'll wrap back around. So I think, and then we can unload the coal here. So I think over here somewhere would be a good place to start laying out your smelters. Now, the way that the steel smelters work is they're twice as fast, so you need half as many. So instead of needing 48, you only need 24. So you have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. That's for yellow belts. We don't have red belts, so it's kind of irrelevant. So we can use this. This will be our main one for now. And then once we get to red belts, all we do is double the size of this. But we can keep the same ratio of everything. So I think I want to allow myself enough space here. I want to put in, I think, 4 of these for now. I think that would be sufficient. We have our nanobots doing nanobot things. And of course, we're working on research up here. I don't think we can do anything with nanobot range. Yeah, it's locked behind blue science, which I don't really understand why it is. That's nanobot range. This is nanobot speed. Again, they're both locked behind this blue science, which is kind of interesting because it only takes red and green science, but it's locked behind blue science. And I don't want to even mess with doing chem science, or we typically call it blue science, yet. We're not anywhere near that. And I mean, we just started getting into using red belts, but the problem, we're not, or being able to build red belts, but the problem is we don't have any iron. Iron is our issue. So we can let this build, and then what I'd like to do is start laying out our miners. Now I only have, how many do I have? I have 150 on me. I don't think that's enough. Now, as far as ratios with how many miners can fill a belt, basically, let me pull, I have a little bit of a, not a cheat sheet, I guess you don't know if I call it a cheat sheet here, but basically, I want to see if I can find it on my little cheat sheet here, as far as, so right now, yellow belts could hold 26 electric miners, and that's for 1 red belt. So how many do we actually have here? That's 21, really. So, but what we could also do, which is another good way to do it, is if you put balancers at the end of your lines, again, we're going to eventually be upgrading all this to red, and reds can hold 51, which is going to be basically 2 lines here. So for now, it's a bit overkill, which, speaking of that, we should actually even only do half of it, really. Can I cut these back down? Yeah. So if we want to have 26, we'll have 10, only it's 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, maybe something like that, 15 on each side, and we'll just start there. Oops. And we can just run all these down. And that one's obviously not going to start there. I like to keep them a bit symmetrical. It just looks better that way, I think. Something like that. And then we have lots of belts, of course. And then we'll get this set up. I used to have a blueprint to stamp down here, but you know what? It's not really a big deal. I do have a balancer blueprint, so I basically want to have a 4-to-4 because here's a 4-to-4 right here. Oops, so I can go. Oops, that's not what I want to do. I want to use the 4x4 blueprint, please. Can I use you? And I can put you here. Oh, that's what I want to do. And then put it here. So we're going to have there. And I'll pull the other lines from over here. So just for now, we'll start balancing things here. This is a pretty decent balancer. Let's get rid of some of these trees so we can see a bit better here, because we were kind of lacking being able to see. So this is a bit of a balancer. Now, I have had balancers before where you don't have this at all, but this seems to be the design, well, that I have now. So we're just going to run with that. And again, you just kind of hook everything up because you want to have things balancing, because it'll help offset. Again, we're 1 short here. How many would we have? We have 91. So one will fit here. So I like to get all the, again, this is all working towards the future here, right? Like, we're not using any of this yet, but we will be. So let's knock a couple of these out. And what I could even do here is I can just go copy. I can copy this whole one, basically line it up and one over, and there you go. Then as far as stamping down your power poles, basically just do it exactly like this. Oops. Again, this is where having, you can blueprint all this stuff, obviously, but I'm not set up there quite yet. This is going to be here, but it is nice to keep things a little bit more, I don't know. Like this one actually isn't doing anything, so that can go away. Now the other question, or the other issue, is we don't have power running to here. So what we can do is we can pull our power pole, and we're going to run. Because if you hold down the power poles and you just run, it'll snap it to the farthest length that it can go to. And I'm going to snap it up here. Let's just keep some of this stuff out of the way. Now this is going to really start drawing power, though. That's the problem. Actually not as bad as I thought. We're at 176. I thought we'd be, excuse me, thought we'd be hurting a little bit more for power. Unless this isn't, oh, you know what, I don't think this is actually hooked up to the actual grid yet. It's not. And when it is, that'll really start, I think, sucking power. You just get away with one. I'll put one here. Let's watch it. Boom. Went from 176 to, geez, gigawatts or megawatts. Wow, but we're still stable. And there we go. So we actually have our 4 coming in. And we can start actually feeding. Let's get rid of some of these trees, honestly. They're just kind of in the way here. We can start feeding our lines here. Now, we do have an issue with... I could bring in the coal a bit differently. But I think I'm just going to do it... I want to have another balancer here just for the coal coming in, which can literally just go right next to it here. I think that's going to be fine. I mean, we could balance it elsewhere, but balancing it here is just as good. And so what I want to do is, obviously, we have the iron coming here, and the coal is going to be coming in here. So a simple one like that, and we do that is going to be all we really need. So we'll just copy this. Oops. Just copy this through. You stamp it down with your shift click. It'll ghost plan it, and then it'll put the whole thing down. Excuse me, sorry guys. What I also like doing is grabbing a bit of this, and then just bringing this. Whoops, not when you do it like that though. Not when you do it like that. We can still go to paste. And what I want to do is, actually, we can bring this all across and just bring it up where it needs to be brought up at, which is going to be right here. Now, the question, see, this is where I want to have, yeah, I don't like this. Get rid of some of these things. Get rid of this. Good. Again, we just ghost do these. This is fine. Let's see where we at here. Just want to get a little bit of this set up, and then we'll get back to doing a little bit more. Again, this is where having bots and belts. Ooh, okay. I'm trying to think. It's like, oh, it's on the wrong one. No, it's on the right. It's on the correct one. Oh, again here with the stupid trees. There we go. Perfect. There we go. I think that works. All right. Let's see. Is this all built yet? What can we do to build some more of this? Maybe manually put some. What's the problem there? Oh, okay. It's just the bots got to do their thing. It'll take a little bit of time, of course. We were out of actual regular inserters though, so we're gonna be out of belts. So what we can do is we can just run home, and yeah. Alrighty. So I think, okay, that's good enough for. Well, actually, we can start setting up a bit of rail. Now I do have a blueprint in my blueprint book somewhere here that has a loading station, but I think what I'd like to do is make my own loading station and just it be one that we actually use all the time. Wish it was lighter. Again, these are going to be going up to here, so we're not going to be loading, unloading there. I want to set, because eventually if we get into doing blue inserters, or blue belts, we're going to end up putting, geez, I don't even know how many smelters can go on a blue belt. Basically 70 smelters can go on a blue belt, and like that's a lot. It's 35 on each side, so it is probably around 3 times what one of these are. So I mean, imagine the columns going up to here. So we want to have our train station over here somewhere. I think that's the best way, because if we have our main line coming down through here somewhere, and then we can feed it across the top over here, and we can have our what do you want to call it? The diagonal thing here. What is that? I don't know what you would even call that. Oops, that's not what I want. I want to go into here, and I want to go into this, and I want to go into... This is in my big intersection. We can actually stamp some of these down already, because we're going to be... Whoops, that's not what I want to do either. I wanted to do this, and I want to get out of this. Is we're going to be using some of these designs. It's going to be a big old train area. So I think what we'll do is we'll put the T intersection, or do we put it below it? It almost maybe makes sense to put it below it, because then we're not going to be struggling for space. Like we could literally put it down here. I think that might be a better choice, because they're going to come in. It means right-hand drive. I think something down here is going to be fine. And then we'll obviously, I have all my signals in here, because the way you do it is you put a chain signal before an intersection, and you have a regular signal after the intersection. And this is just maybe overkill how to set this up a bit. We can actually just kind of get a little bit of this on right now, just to kind of feed it in. Not that we're drawing too much power. I mean, we're fine. We're fine here with power. I'm not too worried. But there we go. So we have a lot of work to do as far as rail lines go. Again, I got to try to find some of my blueprints. But again, I always like making blueprints as we kind of go along. We can let this get loaded up here. Why not? Again, once you start getting into having like regular bots and having this bots be faster, this is so much easier. But we're still very much early game. And as you see, I'm researching sulfur. Like, we're not anywhere near doing oil yet. Like, I don't even want to think about oil. We have to actually connect this whole system up too. I want to go above this. I have one left, and that's just enough. I mean, see, this is going to fire up, but it's not going to really do anything because I need more inserters, basically. That's the thing, and I need more of the... let's let the rest of this make for, well, the rest of what we have. All right, so I think what we're going to do now is we could basically take something like this. All right, something just like this. All right, we'll copy it. And what I want to do is I want to run up to where the coal is. So we just hit F6. That's because I'm using the run speed toggle. It's just quality of life. I know it's up here, right? The coal's up here. And we can at least just stamp this down to mark our little territory here. Where are we here on the map? Right here, and I can just run back. So we have a bit of a thing here where we can stamp this down right away, and we might as well just stamp it. And we don't have any materials. Can we even make big power poles? We could. I don't know if it'll be. It'll take way too long. All right, that's fine. So this will just. I'm just going to stamp it down just to locate that that's where it's going to be. And then as far as my other main rail lines, like the unloading and loading stations are going to be here. Like eventually we're going to have a big, huge loading and unloading station for things like green circuits, red circuits. Oops. But then again, eventually I also want to have my science somewhere else. So again, it's baby steps to get to this MegaBase. I mean, it takes many, many hours to get there. But having a common rail line in place would be helpful. But again, I might start thinking about city blocks. We will see how things... But again, as you progress and you get better bots, you can obviously just get rid of things very, very quickly. Speaking of that, how are we doing with power? Oh, we're doing perfectly fine because nothing's really working. So let's just get back, run back, and then I want to work on some... I do kind of want to work on some train stuff, but I just have to figure out how I want to go about doing it. But we might as well run back and get some more supplies. Yeah, iron is really hurting right now. So I think... I'll have to think about it. I'm going to have to do it off camera to think about how I want to actually lay it out, and then I can bring it back. And then you guys can obviously help me with that. All right, good. And I don't have anything set up here with 100 more now. We're good with logic bots or anything, like logistics here about how many go in here, how many go in here. I'm not really doing any of that quite yet. I'm going to take all of these. Where we have our power, we need a lot more belts. We take half. Actually, might as well take all of them. Now we're going to be 100% full, aren't we, in our inventory? So that's way too many. So we can just dump a whole bunch back. Way too many. And we also have, this is a bit of a junk area here because we don't need any of these things anymore. Yeah, so we're just going to do it like that. And then assemblers we don't need. These we do need a full stack of. And then these, of course, I'm going to take all of what we have. And the inserters, we need more. I think that's okay for now. Right click on that to grab a bunch of things like that. Do we not have train signals being made somewhere? Oh, here I have some. Okay, that was weird. Oh, so I used all of them. That's why. Use all the train signals. And then as far as how many spaces do we... I keep hitting escape instead of hitting E. We could get a couple more stacks here. Maybe one more stack I think is fine. And then power poles are good on here. We're good on everything else. So what I want to do is just head back. Again, I'm going to probably do a lot of this off-camera work as far as laying out more rail lines. But I wanted to bring you guys with, especially today, to start setting up some... Like, this is a huge patch. I mean, this should last us well into... Not to late game, but, well, last us for quite a while, I guess is what I'm getting at. So we have to start setting up here for coal. All right, let's get all the rest of these inserters put in. Again, it takes a little bit of time because the nanobots aren't the fastest in the world yet, but they still are better than doing it by hand. Yeah, in my opinion, better than doing it by hand. And I think everything else is loaded up. So yeah, so again, what we're going to do is we're going to have the stations down here, which I'm probably going to get rid of this then, because that's not going to go here. Our inventory is full. So what are we full on? What can I get rid of? I could probably just ditch that, right? And then we can pick up the rest of these. Will it pick them up? Yeah, there we go. We should be okay now. Yep. So down here is where we're going to extend that. And then as far as having like a turnaround, well, you want to have what's called your rail. I'm not sure what you want to call it, but if you grab this and you go, I want to go like that to put a bit of a loading station. I'm not sure what they actually call it. So basically the trains will come in and they'll dock somewhere and then they'll pick up their load. Now I just got to figure out the best way to go about doing that. I'm not quite sure yet how I want to lay it out. Maybe it's called like a parking lot, because we're doing right-hand drive, right? So they're going to come in and they need to go into this first before we start going elsewhere. So maybe this has to be moved a bit down lower and have the train station up here, which you may actually, let's do that. Might as well just move it lower, move it all the way down here. I think that's going to be fine. And we can just sit here. I know the nanobots are having a bit of a problem right now because my inventory is full, but I think we'll be okay. As long as we stand down here, they'll kind of go through some of the things. So yeah, again, this is a lot of stuff I got to figure out. And I think a lot of people, when they start doing, look at that, you can tell what's getting picked up and what's going back down. Have it coming in here, going right into a parking area, going across, grabbing what it needs to grab, and then boom, right back down. So we will get it figured out, of course. We don't need the wood. I don't actually need this in here either, honestly. And everything else I think is pretty good here. All right, these things will just, the bots will do their thing here, and then you have to think about how I want to do this. Actually, we can just use the bots for this. I mean, what's the big deal, right? Something like that, because yeah, we want to have them coming in here. Again, it's a double line. Now, do we need a double line eventually? Yes. Now, do we need it now though? I don't know. That's the thing. You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to delete all this, and I'm going to think about it. And I'm going to think about what we need. And what I'm going to do here, since we don't run out of everything, I'm just going to dump a whole bunch of stuff in here. That way I can still, let's get rid of this, and this. We don't need any of that stuff. I can pick up everything else. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up here. It's a bit of a shorter episode. I think when we come back, I'll think about having a bit of a different rail system set up, and we're gonna get this up and running. And yeah, because we need to start feeding this better. And I want to get a big train station up here, and there's a lot to do yet, guys. But we'll just wrap it up here. It's a short episode today, which is okay. But we got our mining set up, and we have our first kind of big smelting area set up, and that's gonna be good. We have our balancers. When we come back next episode off camera, I'll get some of the train yard stuff set up, and then maybe we can start actually laying some proper rail, and getting our first trains up and running. I think that would be a great thing to do. So thank you guys for joining me. If you liked the video, please consider leaving me a like as well as a comment. Much appreciated. And if you're enjoying the series as well as all the other videos on my channel, please consider leaving a subscribe. Much appreciated. And I'll catch you guys in the next Factorio entry level to MegaBase video. Take care now.